All right, everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. I wanted to make this video again because I think it's an important topic. Just about any cuisine you're cooking, first thing you do is saute an onion. And there's so many different ways to cut an onion. And there's ways to make it easy on yourself, there's ways to make it hard on yourself. I want to make sure that everybody sees those different ways. When I was a sous chef, I was in charge of hiring. One of the things I would do is ask my people I'm interviewing. I'd give them an onion. I'd tell them, take half the onion, dice it, with the other half, julienne it. And you could tell a lot about somebody's experience level based on how they handle that task. So let's start off with exactly that. Let's do what I wanted to see people do when I was interviewing them. Half the onion julienne, half the onion diced. First thing I like to do is cut that off. That's not good for anything anyway. The other thing, this little butt right here, that tends to just make a mess on your cutting board. So I like to just shave that off. You can see I just barely shave that because I still want all the layers of the onion to be held together. So just shave off the little hairy part. Then cut it in half this way. Okay, so I have it like that. I don't have rings. I have it like this with all the layers exposed. Next thing, the half that you're going to dice, you want to go ahead and peel. This makes it really easy to pull the skin off. Now the half that you're going to julienne, you can go ahead and cut off that little bit. So about right there. It's not much waste. And now this half is really easy to peel. So that just comes off. Now this half that we're going to julienne, it's very easy. You just slice it into strips. It's great for stir fries or fajitas, anything like that where you want a nice long piece of onion. So you can do it real thin, kind of shave it, or maybe you want them a little thicker. You have a little longer cook time on them, you can make it a little thicker. Doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you keep it consistent. Keeping your cuts consistent ensures that everything cooks evenly, everything is done at the same time, nothing's overcooked, nothing's still crunchy, everything is even. It's one of those little telltale signs of somebody who knows what they're doing versus somebody who's just throwing together a couple ingredients. So the julienne's really easy. Just keep on going. Once you get to about this point, where you're taller than you are wide, you can turn it on its side and just keep on going that way. And now you have nice long strips for your stir fry, whatever you're doing. That's the easy one. The dice is a little more complicated. First step on the dice is we're going to cut this way along all our layers. So I bring it to the edge of the cutting board, put my knife through that way. Sometimes you do one, sometimes two, sometimes three, depends on the size of your onion. So you can see I have two cuts, nice and even, going that way. Now we're going to cut it the same direction as the julienne. Now these cuts, I want to keep them the same size as these cuts were. So everything's consistent. So I'm going to start right here, a little ways up from where my last cut was. And I'm not going to cut all the way to the back like I did with the julienne. I'm going to rely on this end to still hold everything together for me. So I go like that. You can see it's still held together. Keep it the same, going about the same as I did on my first cuts, all the way across until I come to the end. I still have about that much. There we go. And you can see I have all my cuts like that, and it's still held together at the end. Now we cut perpendicular to those cuts. Again, keeping it the same size, nice and consistent. And the claw becomes really important here. Keeping your fingers in the claw where your knuckles are guiding your knife down, but you also want to spread them out a little bit to hold everything together, being very careful that none of your fingers come in front of your knuckles, keeping everything out of the way of the knife. That's what lets you move quickly. So then you can just quickly move and cut everything in a nice diced onion very quickly. Now I'm getting towards the end. Some of my cuts don't go anymore. Sometimes you can get another cut like that. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes that needs to be broken up. And then you have this piece. And this piece, I save that for stocks. Like all my scrap vegetables, that can be really useful. And now we have a nice, consistent cut on our dice. Now, cut open another onion, same procedure. Cut it in half, peel it. Now you can, of course, always do just a rough chop on your onions. Maybe you're making kebabs and you need nice big pieces. In that case, I would probably cut it down the middle. Cut that little bit off. And then cut it like that. So I have nice kebab-shaped pieces. Now maybe if you're making a stock or something where you're going to be straining the onions out later, maybe you would cut them like this too, a nice rough chop. But again, being as consistent as you can, keeping your two cuts as similar as possible. And more practice comes more consistency. Now the trickiest thing, and I'll probably make another video about this later, is the brunoise. Brunoise makes a lot of waste, but it also makes a really nice fine dice for salads, potato salad, a chicken salad, a tartare, something like that, when you have raw onions that you want really nice fine pieces for. So first of all, we're going to take our onion. I still have the back end on there. I'm going to cut it into thirds. So I have the curved section here, then I have my flat section and another curved section. So here, you can see I have all my layers are about the same. They're all pretty flat and even. Oops. On this one, you can see they start off real big and they get narrower as I go in. So on this one, I'm going to cut those narrow pieces off. Cut it at an angle. Cut it at an angle like that. And now my layers tend to be more even. And I have a nice flat I can work on. This bit here goes in my scrap pile, that goes in the stock. So my other round end, same thing. I'm going to cut it at an angle so I have a nice flat piece. Nice flat, all my layers are even. Now I take my round ends and I want to square them up. Cut those ends off, cut those ends off. So they're nice and square. So now I have 3 square pieces. From half an onion, this is all I still have that's useful. So these pieces are a little easier. Brunoise, you want to keep it under a 1/4 inch, about an 1/8 inch. I'm going to do just like I was dicing. I'm going to cut them this way. I'm going to turn it, cut it this way. I'm going to keep the end holding everything together for me so it stays nice and neat. So about an 1/8 inch. Keeping it consistent as you possibly can. Coming down to the end. All right. Holding it together. Same thing this way. about an 1/8 inch. If you're in Europe, 1/8 inch I think is about 4 meters. So nice and small, little bitty squares, nice and consistent. Now I come to the end, I can't really hold it and cut at the same time, so that goes in my scrap pile. And you can see I have a bunch of little bitty squares that are nice and consistent. They will go great in my tuna tartare. So then you do the same thing with the rest of the pieces. These rounded ends, they tend to be a little bit easier because they're shorter. Just keep going. Till you get to the end. Don't cut yourself. Not worth it. Just put that in your scrap pile. These tall ones get tricky. I have to make sure my knife is going straight down all the way. If I don't go straight down, I end up with uneven squares. I end up with one piece big and one piece little bitty. I end up with trapezoids instead of squares. It's worth it here to take your time and be very careful. And cut it the other way. And you notice I'm not pushing the knife down. I'm letting the knife do the cutting for me. I'm just gliding the knife across, letting it do the work. If you push it down, if you push the knife, you'll tend to smash things. And you also tend to not go, you tend to not go straight down. It'll make the blade want to do funny things. So just let it glide through, let it do the work. So that's Brunoise. Again, we put that in our scrap pile, save it, put it in our stock. So I think that's what I have to say about the onion. It's in everything. You'll get plenty of practice. If you cook a few dishes, you'll get plenty of practice cutting onions. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Hope you liked it.